problem is going 100 miles an hour, you're not as effective. You have to be able to go 50, then get to 75, and then get to 100 on your own terms when you think. But that takes a certain amount of patience, a certain amount of maturity, and that's the last thing for a guy developing his game with a mindset. That's the last thing that comes into play.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Adonal Foyle! Hey!
Adonal Foyle!
Thank you for being here, Adonal Foyle.
I couldn't have you guys come into my neighborhood and I don't show up, you know?
Look at you.
I didn't know you were out here.
Don't tell nobody.
Yeah, what's your address, Adonal?
I'm caught off guard because I just saw you on TV on Check Please Bay Area, which I don't know if you guys know that. It's a KQED show where 3 people go to restaurants, and it was Festus, Ezeli, it was Trace Jackson Davis, and Adonal Foyle. So I got goosebumps. I'm by an actual restaurateur here.
There you go. You know, I mean, food is like one of the most important things, I think, besides, you know, playing basketball at the NBA level, because I remember, you know, JJ and I, my last few years in the league, we almost went to every restaurant in every city. So food is a constant part of what we do, and especially having late night options after a game.
Yeah, exactly right. I think they agree with you here at Jack's Restaurant and Bar. The food's good, right? We're all doing good? No, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome to have you here. We do want to talk a little Warrior basketball. 9 games in. What do you see? What do you think?
Well, I think for me, we know that this team, the way it's built, we want to see what the Warriors is going to be 3-4 months from now. We know we have the pedigree, we have the talent, we have an aging, cohort that needs time. So to me, the game plan is a very simple game plan. How do we endure until the end of the season and ensure that, you know, the guys that we have play as minimum amount of minutes as possible so that they can be there for the end, which means that for me right now what's happening with Kuminga and the younger guys, that's the most important thing that you can ask for, is for an opportunity for them to play significant minutes, make as much mistake as they need to make now, and really get that. Just take a player like I think Kuminga. When you think about a player who developed the game very late, the last thing that comes, as somebody who has done the same thing, you know, starting the game at 15, the last thing that comes for a player like that is the tactical ability, the ability to assess, to dunk shift, to go from 5th back down to 3, going back up to, you know, to 4. That kind of thing takes a little bit longer. So you're now seeing him understanding that. You're now seeing him, instead of going to A to B, he may dunk shift, he may go to a little bit zigzag. That's the kind of thing that time takes. And the more time he gets in the flow, the better he's going to be down the stretch.
Is it even harder for Jonathan on a night like last night, where now you have to kind of be in 5th gear the whole time, because now you're not the only guy, but you're kind of the guy? Is that a tougher adjustment for him without Steph and Jimmy to suddenly get back into that mode?
It will be, but I think part of the maturity of Jonathan Kuminga is the understanding that you don't have to be that option. So what I want him to get into the habit of thinking is that the game is a bit more easier than you think it is. And the older you get, the more you understand that simplicity. So a layup, you take the layup 100 times if it's available. You don't take another shot just because they let you take it. You make them, you put and force your will on the other side. That's a learned kind of response, right? Veterans do that better because they understand that when you have somebody in a grind, you keep your foot and the gas.
You know, you hear Steve Kerr still talking about Jonathan's decision making.
Right.
He's come back this year. It's clearly better.
Right.
Like, he's clearly finally picking up what Jimmy Butler's talking about, Draymond Green, Steve Kerr. It still might need some tightening of the screws, especially when you see a game like last night where he's in more of a lead role. But you just referenced kind of your history and picking the game up late. Like, what is the right way to look at his career arc? Because he's not a rookie, but he's still such a kid at the same time.
So if you think about Steph Curry, right? Steph has been learning basketball from probably before he was born.
Right.
so by the time that he's 5, you have the skill acquisition and all of the different, and the mindset, right? That's done. So most guys, tactically, they start developing that skill around college, right? When you're Jonathan, when you're me, you started at 15. I was learning all the way through college. So now you're in the NBA, and these guys are really good. So you have one speed and you want to go 100 miles an hour. The problem is going 100 miles an hour, you're not as effective. You have to be able to go 50, then get to 75, and then get to 100 on your own terms when you think. But that takes a certain amount of patience, a certain amount of maturity, and that's the last thing for a guy developing his game with a mindset. That's the last thing that comes into play.
And beyond the mindset of Jonathan Kuminga, and Adonal Foyle is here with Willard and Dibbs 95-7 in the game, I'm thinking about the schedule. And I mentioned to Mark, like the early schedule, a lot of road, a lot of back-to-back, a lot of difficulty. As a veteran, how much are you able to just kind of bide your time and understand that you'll be able to fatten up maybe a little bit later in the year?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I think Steve has been very good at, and we have a history, which is to take older players and play them with being judicious and really have them there, right? But you want the young guys to be on fire. You want them to go out. You don't mind losing a game. What you want is to see improvement from game to game. You want to see improvement in terms of rebounding, in terms of defense, in terms of how you protect the paint, diving for loose ball, deflections. What you want to see is not necessarily the ball is going to fall into the basket. We know that that's going to come with time. They're going to shoot better. But what we want to see is the effort. And I think defense, when we talk about defense, it's like that's all effort. What it requires is you have to sell out and display. You need to close out to the three-point line, knowing that the guy may drive, and then the other guy have to help. That's when you say, strength in numbers. What you're saying is that we all have to be on the same page, and the more you're on the same page, the easier the game tend to be, and that takes a little longer for younger guys.
This is a man who, let me count him up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 times in his career, he played more than 75 games in the NBA season. Right?
Load management.
Like, what a thought, right?
I mean,
wow. So
do you need some water, Donald? Oh, my God.
No, man. Sip of coffee, please.
Something, man.
So, we know we're not going to put the toothpaste back in the tube. But do you, as someone who played in the other NBA, do you kind of buy what Steve Kerr's been saying lately, that it's like floor coverage is different, pace is different. It is acceptable that these guys need to sit out sometimes for no reason.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that one of the things that we don't do a very good job as athletes, we lie, right? We don't tell. We don't tell.
Non-athletes do that too.
We just don't tell people our day-to-day. I remember one time, like I was playing in a game, and it was against Don Nelson, and they find out that they put like my fingers were broken. The both of them were tied together like this, and Don Nelson sent his players into the game, and he basically tell them to just squeeze that finger all night. By the time I got out of the game, my finger was this big. I could not play or catch the ball. The point that I'm making is that if you go through an NBA season, it is impossible to find a player by February that is not hurt. You just don't know the many injuries they have because we lie about it. We don't tell you because when we tell you, you're going to try to strategize against it. So we don't have that insight. The point I'm making is we do know the older a player gets, the longer you play this game, is just diminishing returns. So the question becomes, how do you preserve your player the best you can and still being respectful for the game? Because when somebody, pays money to go to a game, they should be able to see the player they go there to see. Under some extraordinary circumstances, we should take it really seriously that most people don't get to go to a game every day. So when they do get to go to a game, they should see the most high caliber game. But I think we could do a job and then say, look, yes, we can worry about Steph Curry, we can worry about the 14 guys, but we have to do a mix. And what we could do is to have more transparency so people know what's happening ahead of time.
Yeah, and for you, when you played, load management was just guarding Shaquille O'Neal, right?
Exactly. I mean, literally, it's like going around and be like, I can't walk, my knees hurt, my back hurt, but you have a back-to-back, so get to work.
Yeah, back-to-back.
And the back-to-back involved Big Country, Patrick Ewing, Kim Olajuwon.
Even Shaq, whatever.
Shaq.
I mean, the only thing is you probably didn't have to guard 1 through 5, but you're guarding some of these like all-time centers. So I wonder if there's a solution though, Adonal. Like Steve Kerr has come out and said, 72 games would be the sweet spot, but they're not going to cut games. So do teams have no choice but to do it the way they're doing it?
I think that the choice is, and I've had this conversation. I have been in a high part of the union as the first vice president of the union, and I have approached players. There's just too many games in the season, and the question becomes like, everybody agreed, management, players, everybody agreed there's too many games. Nobody wants to give up any money at any games.
Right.
So you simply can't have it both ways. If we agree that there are too many games, what we have to do is to find a solution, and it will take the players and the owners sitting down and really thinking about what is best for the game, the best quality of the game. You and I could agree that back-to-back games should be limited because they're terrible, right? Like, by any metric, when you look at a back-to-back game, it's not as good as the first game, right? So we should try to limit that as a sport. So we have to look at, could we condense the season? Could we extend it? So those are the kind of conversation, but it's not going to happen until people are willing to say, look, for the betterment of the game, we have to make decision that makes our game more interesting than in a position where we have to say, okay, we need to play games early in order to get more people interested so that we'll get it more interesting at the end, right? So I think like what's the number? I don't know what that number is, but I think that there's a conversation that needs to be had.
It would be as if, it would be like NFL players playing a game 4 days after they had just played a game.
They would never do that.
You would never play a football game on a Thursday night, would you, Adonal?
The pick is in, by the way.
You would never do that. It's crazy. No, hey, I think we would all love to hear from you. Now, by the way, you look great. Happy 50th birthday earlier this year.
Whoa.
Earlier this year.
Adonal Foyle.
But
don't tell nobody.
No, I won't tell anyone other than our audience. But just so, like, while we're talking about age, how realistic do you think this is? What the Warriors are trying to do with a core at this age?
Man, I think that this is like in sports, it's worth it, right? It's realistic, be damned, right? So the thing about sports, the thing about Steph Curry, the thing about what we love about our game is that we go in with the expectation, win or lose, we want to put on a hell of a show. And if you ask Steph Curry in the next 2 years, what he wants to do, the thing he would tell you is like, it's not like he wants to play in the playoff or play in the finals. Of course he does. But what he would tell you is that I want a chance to shock the world, right? Every player at every caliber, that's what you want. I want to be healthy and give me a chance and let me see what I can do. Ask that of LeBron, ask that of Steph, ask that of any great player. To me, it's like that is the ride. The next 2 years, they have 2 years to see what they can do. And boy, it's going to be bumpy. It's going to be crazy. But I want to see every second of it. I don't care what you get because that's, at the end of the day, what sports is about, is the ride.